Post-Fades Cheesesteaks, episode 97, I think.
Right around there.
Almost 100.
Almost.
Hot off a pretty good Super Bowl. It wasn't the most
Yeah, I
exciting, but I thought
enjoyed
it
it.
was a good game.
Yeah, it was good.
What'd you
Listen,
think?
it went down to the final drive. There was
Hmm.
plenty of big plays. I think the stars showed up. It was a close game. I mean, you think it was everything you could ask for. There were, it wasn't a ton of scoring,
Hmm.
but I still thought it was a solid game all in all. Both teams fought and both were in the game up until the last couple seconds.
Yeah. It looked like it was going to be one of those Bengals comebacks again, where like when they were playing the Chiefs and they just caught fire and
Yeah,
because they had that play right out of halftime where was it T Higgins got away with that ripping Jalen Ramsey's face off penalty,
yeah.
um, and then scored on the opening play, and then they got an interception in the next play right back. So they had the momentum, and then they just couldn't really do much after that.
Well, I mean, you had Devon Miller and Aaron Donald tag team
Oh yeah, they
coming for
came
Joe Burrow's
alive.
life.
They came alive.
That was the first time. I mean, I was saying this when they were going to the playoff run. Like that, I feel like was the first time having a bad offensive line caught up to the Bengals. It was
Yeah.
that second, the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl. They got away with it for this long, which is surprising. But at that point, you could tell this offensive line is just not nearly good enough. They couldn't stop anyone. And Donald and Miller were just feasting.
Which like that wasn't the whole point of opting for Chase instead of Penny Sewell or an offensive lineman in the draft was to protect Burrow, but
I mean, listen,
I
yeah.
get the
I
ball
mean, the
out
Super
faster,
Bowl,
get it to him,
yeah.
But
And in the Super Bowl, it makes sense. But look, with Penny Sewell, this team doesn't make the Super Bowl. I think Jamar Chase made it such a big
I
difference.
agree. I'm just saying.
Plus, I mean, dude balled that touchdown, or not the touchdown, the big ball, the big catch he had on Ramsey, that one-handed thing. That's just an elite wide receiver
That
play.
was beautiful.
The Bengals are set up very nice. T. Higgins had a hell of a game. Jamar Chase is clearly a superstar already. I'm sure you'll have him ranked in number 10 or 15 because he only did it 1 year, but that's okay. We'll
Uh,
ignore that for now.
I mean, hey Joe,
But
my boy Joe Mixon, 4.8 yards per carry. That was
yeah,
pretty impressive. So
your boy Jesse Bates
Jesse
had the
Bates,
huge
yeah.
interception.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. Listen, I mean, obviously, the Bengals didn't get it done, but I think for everyone, even the diehard Cincinnati fans, have to say this season was a win. No one saw them coming
Oh
this
yeah.
far. I don't even think when the playoffs started, if I told you the Bengals would be in the Super Bowl, I think even Cincinnati Bengals would be an optimistic there.
They were just happy to
So
be there.
yeah, I mean,
I did enjoy watching Eli Apple get cooked though. That was entertaining.
yeah.
The former
Although
Giant.
somehow not the worst cornerback performance from the Cincinnati Bengals. Vernon Hargraves running off onto the field to celebrate. Like, dude, you've got to, like, that's just like, what are you doing? Like, on the biggest stage in the world? Like, are you kidding me? What are
You
you
know,
thinking?
if that was a Belichick team, that he would have been on a plane ride home right now, like,
Oh,
or they would have sent him back to the hotel or something.
yeah.
That
What
would have
did
been great.
who was it? Malcolm Butler got sat in the Eagles
Yeah,
Super Bowl for no one really knows why.
which might
Or
have actually, hurt their
I
chances.
think Vernon Hargraves would have been assassinated by halftime, let
But yeah,
alone be put back on a flight. Yeah, that was just idiotic. But I mean, it's still a young team. They still look pretty good. Burrow looked good in his first
Mhm.
Super Bowl performance. I thought the Bengals defensive line looks outstanding, as did the Rams.
Yeah,
More importantly, I think one of my biggest takeaways were the receiver games. I've already talked about the Bengals receivers balling out, but someone I criticized heavily really came out and balled. And I thought the reason they were going to lose that game was going to be the fact that Odell got hurt, because those two interceptions, if those are to Odell, that they don't happen. There's no
yeah.
way. The guy was cooking. He had a nice touchdown. And
Hmm.
I got to say, for being one of his biggest haters and criticizers, I was happy to see him get the Super Bowl. That did
Yeah,
make me feel good. He got hurt. You could see it. He was balling. Um, he's come a long way. He's come a long way.
yeah. I still think he wasn't like Giants Odell on the Rams, but he was getting
No,
comfortable. Like he started getting better in this, like acquainted to the play calling and the system, and you could see his effect. Like he had, I think he was like two catches for like 60 yards or something in the touchdown, but
yeah,
as soon as he went out, like you could tell that they were struggling,
a
and he
huge
only.
difference.
I mean,
Huge
they also
difference.
didn't have Higbee, their tight end, but they could not get Cam Akers going. They could not
No,
do anything on the run, which is, I mean, credit to the Bengals, like they put together a patchwork defense this season with a bunch of, they signed a bunch of players from different teams and they all kind of meshed together and worked. And it wasn't, there was
Yeah.
I wasn't the best defense I've ever seen, but they did a good job, honestly.
I remember who was it? Trey Henderson signed a huge contract with them in the
Yeah.
offseason. And everyone was ripping it apart.
Because
Like,
that seemed like
you're
the typical
overpaying.
like one hit wonder, had a great year,
Yeah.
gets the big money.
But there he isn't getting a sack on Matt Stafford in the Super Bowl. So I think it worked out pretty well. I did think you hit it on with the Cam Akers thing. I had moments there, thought I was rewatching the Super Bowl 53 between the Rams Patriots with McVay. I thought McVay was going to fall for the same trap. He kept on going for those run plays that were going nowhere. And it just, he was sticking to it. Like Akers had 13 carries for 21 yards. And he kept sticking with that run game, and it just was never working. Just, I know he tried that little Philly special thing to get a little creative, a play calling, but
a little rough looking.
Yeah, at the points I want to say after halftime, I thought I was watching the Super Bowl 53 all over again. And McVay was making the same blunders, but hey, the difference between that team and this team is Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp is elite.
Yeah. Well, they were. You could tell they were trying to do different things in the third quarter, but nothing was working. I think Kupp didn't touch the ball till like 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter or something. Besides,
which
like
is
the
idiotic.
first quarter, and then he obviously like went off. They're like, all right, we'll just feed him the ball. I thought Stafford wasn't like phenomenal, but he did. He played really well when it counted the most. Did you see his the no look pass he had to Kupp?
I did. That was pretty nice.
Yeah, I saw the angle from where like the defensive point of view where you're looking at him, and I was like, okay, that was pretty good.
Hey, he put a nice performance down at the end. The first interception was a bad decision on his part.
His fault.
Well, the first one, I don't know. He sent Van Jefferson down the field, and the ball wasn't anywhere near him.
But the fact that Cam Akers 13 carries for 21 yards, that is disgusting. That is you can't do anything.
And that's what happened last time. That's McVay fell for that trap last time. He couldn't get the run going, and he just couldn't really find a way out of it. And Cooper Kupp made plays this time around.
Yeah,
when he got the ball.
You had OBJ 2 catches, 52 yards, a 26-yard average, and then you have Cooper Kupp 8 catches for 90 yards. Like he literally was the only guy making plays on the Rams offense. Stafford threw the ball 40 times.
I know. Yeah. That's having listen, Kupp is a game breaker. Odell looked very good. Like he looked like I won't go as far as the Giants Odell, but he was the best Odell I've seen since New York in that game. And their offensive scheme wasn't originally working. Like they couldn't run the ball at all. We know McVay loves to do that, but their players were making the plays they needed to. And it's obvious why they were struggling. Odell got hurt and then they weren't giving Kupp the ball. And then once they started getting Kupp the ball, they started, scoring again.
Yeah. I'm looking at the stat line, the team stat line. It was a very even game, honestly. Like both around 300 total yards, both around like 5 yards per play, almost the same first amount of first downs. Third down efficiency, Rams had a little bit better. But they both had they were within a minute of each other in time of possession. Same amount of punts. Obviously, the Bengals got set, or Joe Burrow got sacked 7 times, and they only got to Stafford twice.
Which is just ridiculous. I think that was the real problem for the Bengals. They were in it the whole game. It was up until they got to the final drive. They had plenty of time to score. They were only down by 3 points. They could have got a field goal to tie, but you were in a passing situation on the last drive. And your offensive line just can't come close to block Von Miller and Aaron Donald. And listen, the Rams went all in, and it all paid out very well. Stafford had a good game. Von Miller obviously was a big, X factor. Eric Weddle played well, who they brought in. Odell was good. Like this was a team we've been saying all year. They went for it. They went and burned how many draft picks to bring this roster together. They went heavy on the veterans, and it worked out for them. And you know what? Those deals. This is what you need, though. You need to win the Super Bowl this year because. It's going to be tough to keep this team alive when you don't have those draft picks and you're in salary crap, hell.
Yeah. I will say, though, I'm going to try and put down I would advise putting down money on the Arizona Cardinals to win next year because the Super Bowl is in Arizona and we've had back-to-back years where the winner has been in their home stadium, which is kind of
It's true.
hard to
I
imagine.
mean, hey, a weird team to pick though right now because I mean, the other news this week, I guess Kyler Murray wants to leave Arizona. I don't know what's going on there.
I mean, it sounds like he's just pulling a diva act, or I'm sure he'll
Just
still be
seems.
ready to go by
Well, I mean,
August.
Arizona's not going to get rid of him, but I mean, I don't know. I don't understand what his thinking is. Like, Arizona was definitely not going to let him go anywhere. He's a young quarterback. They have under a rookie contract.
I
Like,
also
why are you
don't know
making this
like
awkward?
what he could be like. He has everything he needs.
I know
Like,
they literally hired a coach that specifically built an offense that plays to his strengths.
I mean, granted, the
I
line. I mean, the line could be better, but it's not a bad line, and he has weapons.
I
I
mean,
mean,
Kyler Murray could be better. He kind of fell
oh
off
yeah,
last year.
oh,
You
he was
know,
terrible in the wild card game. I mean, he was just
yeah. I mean,
airballing and stuff, and
that's. I mean, I heard like now it's all rumors and everyone's just making a big deal out of social media posts, which is what we do nowadays. But
classic.
I like you hear some of the stuff like he doesn't want to be made the scapegoat for the reason they lost in the playoffs or they fell apart. Like, but Kyler, at the end of the day, like when you're the quarterback, you
You're
get
the
the
quarterback.
praise and you get the criticism, and you definitely deserved a good amount of criticism after that game.
Very Ben Simmons esque.
Yeah, yeah. Which hey, good news there though. Good news there. You no longer only have the best beard in Philadelphia. You now got
Oh
contention for
damn!
that.
No, you're right.
I
I
gotta
guess we could do
say,
a little quick transition there.
oh please
Yeah,
do. This has been my highlight of my whole week. I love every. I'll let
yeah.
you get into it, but can I say I'm ear to ear smiling. I've been waiting. I was waiting, checking my phone for the last 3 days. I was so excited with the rumors, and I really wanted it to happen, and it did, and I'm thrilled.
Yes. So, um, Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and what, two first round picks
To one
sent to
year this year,
Brooklyn.
one 2007
Yeah,
or 2027.
sent to Brooklyn for James Harden and Paul Millsap. Which, so as soon as I saw it, I was like, it was weird because I'm like, James Harden, a top 10 NBA player.
Yeah.
But like, I was looking at what we gave up, and I was for some reason I was like, kind of like on the edge. I was like happy, but like
No,
that was a lot to
no.
give. Hold on.
Okay, go on, go on.
And then the more I looked at it, I was like, actually, you know what? Why am I not hyped for Harden? Like, he's about to completely change the team. And then I was like
Yeah,
looking, I was like, all right, well, first of all, Drummond wasn't going to come back,
no,
and I believe Curry was on the last year his contract too. And those first round picks are going to be in the 20s, so they're not even going to be really worth too much. And I was like,
exactly.
honestly, getting Harden is phenomenal. And sure, Curry hurts because he was your best shooter, but I feel like Paul Millsap is also like kind of a weird name that he wasn't, from what I understand, he wasn't really used that much in Brooklyn. And I mean,
Yeah,
people are
well, he's an
being kind
older
of
guy.
optimistic, but they think he could be a decent role player.
I
But
mean,
yeah,
yeah.
but James Harden,
I'm not
yeah,
worried about Paul Millsap. If he plays, he plays. This is James Harden, all it is. And I mean, I already told you my original feelings, and I was thrilled about this as soon as it happened. And hats off. I've got to say, hats off to Daryl Morey. He did exactly what he said
got
he
his
was going to
boy.
do. He did incredible job. A couple things to break this down on. One, if you look what the Nets gave up last year to get Harden off the Rockets, you paid less. Like I don't care what they put, which way you graded and saying, oh, Ben Simmons is this and that, and Seth Curry's a great shooter. It doesn't matter. You paid less to get James Harden this now than would have taken you last year to get him off Houston. You got a superstar, grade A superstar for
Mm-hmm.
this loser Ben Simmons who was never going to play for you. He was just never going to play for you ever again.
Yeah,
Remember when people were ridiculing Daryl Morey when he turned down Jeremy Grant and Sadiq Bey package from the Pistons, or the fact that we turned down like Halliburton and Buddy Hield or whatever from the Kings? Like
yep.
people are saying he was nuts. He's like, you have no leverage. Ben Simmons is never going to play, and he stuck to his guns, man. And he got the superstar. You gave up a clown who was never going to play for you. You gave up, yeah, Seth Curry hurts, but James Harden is going to do everything Seth Curry was doing times two. Like everything Seth Curry was going to do. Seth Curry was your best shooter. Now James Harden is your best shooter. Seth Curry was probably your best, I don't know, off-ball scorer behind Tobias Harris and Joel Embiid. He was your third scorer. James Harden now becomes your, I don't know, your number one, number two scorer. He's an elite scorer in the league. Drummond hurts just because he was giving you good minutes and gave JoJo the break that he needed. But again, this was a backup center. You gave up a backup center, Seth Curry, who you got for Josh Richardson, who has been phenomenal. I really like Seth Curry, and a loser that was never going to play. And a first round pick this year that is going to be, you know, bottom five, and then a pick 6 years from now, 5 years now, whenever it was. I don't understand how you can see anything but positives. And obviously, I'm not cued in on the Philadelphia media at the moment, being in England, but I've heard mixed reactions from the people I've talked to, and I don't understand it. I'm baffled. I know you said originally you were a little hesitant about it, but I can't understand in a world where you're not extremely excited. Harden and Embiid is the best duo in the NBA. Name me a better duo, honestly. I think they're the best duo in the NBA.
Oh yeah, I mean, right now I don't see any other, and I think people don't realize. I think because people, when they saw it, they're like going back to like Ben's original, like if Ben was playing, what his value would actually be, and they're like, oh, we should have got more or something, this and that, or shouldn't have given up as much.
You got James Harden. He's a top 5 good player in the NBA on a good day.
Yeah, he like Ben wasn't going to play. You weren't going to get anything better for him. Like it's honestly, they made it. Both teams benefited from the trade. Like both teams got better from the trade.
I mean, sure. I mean, the Nets, you could, I don't know. Like they were in a tough spot because James Harden wanted to leave. I mean, the Nets are in a tough spot because James Harden wants to leave and Kyrie Irving is a part-time player. Like, what are you going to do? But the Nets, I don't think the Nets made out positive in this. You gave up all that. No. The Nets, I'm sorry. But the Nets gave up all that to get James Harden last year for what? A 3/4 of the season? You know, nothing really. The big three that never was. I think they played like 9 games together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw a funny picture. It was Durant, and then someone photoshopped Ben Simmons in, and then next to them was a picture of Kyrie Irving's jersey on a coat hanger, and it said 2.5 men. I'm like, yeah,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's not bad.
But also, like for Brooklyn, like I knew whatever team that was going to trade for Ben Simmons is going to have to feed the fan base. We'll change him. Steve Nash, great point guard. He'll be able to unlock Ben Simmons' potential. And the thing is, you aren't. This guy is a head case. He's going to do the same exact thing he was doing in Philly. Nothing is going to change. I mean, the only thing that might be different is he fits in better there with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving half the games than he does with Joel Embiid because Joel Embiid's a big guy. But he's still not going to shoot. He's going to be nothing more than what he was before. And for the Sixers, you got James Harden for a guy that's never going to play for you. This guy was going to sit out the rest of his contract. I think I'm very impressed. And you know what? Ends the saga because Embiid is having an MVP season. He's been dominant and the teams look pretty good. But let's be honest, we had a max contract taking up space on our salary cap and our roster that wasn't playing.
Yeah,
the Sixers team was always held back. The Sixers team was always held back because Simmons was never going to play. You have too much invested in Simmons, and he was never going to play. Even if you made the other trades, like you got in Halliburton and, you know, Buddy Hield, or you got Sadiq Bey and Jeremy Grant, your team's better. You know, you're not being held back by the restraints of this loser not playing.
Yeah, I think it was funny because it was like you said, people were it was like a mixed bag for a top 10, top 5 player. And all of a sudden people started like citing how he sucks in the playoffs. I'm like, what what does that have to do with that was on the Houston Rockets when he, you know, it was basically him and Russell Westbrook, and then when he was doing it by himself, and then, you know, him in Brooklyn when he was injured last year and was still putting up decent numbers. So
I don't know. What would you say he's bad in the playoffs? He was in the Western Conference Finals every year. If it wasn't for the greatest dynasty we've seen in the NBA history, you know, playing. I mean, his Houston Rockets team were the best threat to that dynasty of the Warriors with KD. Yeah. You know, I mean, they were the toughest challenge every single year for that Warriors team. The Warriors would cruise through, run into some tension with James Harden, and then smash LeBron in the finals. That was pretty much every single year.
Yeah.
When KD there, it's just, I mean, I don't see the criticism. No. This guy's going to drop 40 points, 35 points almost every single game.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Nick, and we were saying it's pretty exciting because it just it completely changes the offense. Like you just, Like now Maxi can go to like shooting guard, doesn't have to play point guard. That can free
Yeah.
him up. You can have a threat of Embiid and Harden on the 3-point line, and you got to like they're not going to both get double teams, so
Yeah.
one of them will be open. Pick and roll, like Embiid's the best for Harden that he's ever had in that kind of
Oh,
situation.
easily.
Um,
He turned James Harden was turning Clint Capella into a borderline all-star.
exactly. Imagine
Wait
like
until look what Tobias Harris is going to be able to do now that he's got two
yeah,
heavyweight scorers around him.
I'm hoping
This
he
just
I'm hoping he's able to take advantage of that, like because that's like his role is to be the third best scorer on the team, not the
yeah.
second, not the first, like he had to be in the playoffs when B got hurt. So hopefully he can thrive in that and be like that third option. But
I think he'll
um,
be fine. I think he'll step in and well. Like when he was the third best player on the team with Simmons, it hurt you because you weren't getting the scoring prowess of Simmons. So Tobias became your number two scorer and number one when Embiid was sitting. The Tobias and Simmons lineups never really worked that well because it was Simmons deferring to Tobias Harris, who couldn't be
yeah,
your number one option. Now let him play off of hitting some open shots off of James Harden pressure and Joel Embiid double teams. I think he's going to flourish. I think he'll be perfect in that role. He'll step up into. I know Seth Curry's loss, and I mean I'm not going to say that this was a bad trade because you had to give up Seth Curry. It's almost ridiculous to think that you gave up a guy that'll never play for you again, Seth Curry, who's probably exceeded all expectations anyone had for him, and a backup center for James Harden. It's kind of crazy to think that's what we got James Harden for, but I mean, I'm excited. I have to
mean,
think this puts us into elite contender status.
if in any normal year I said would you trade Seth Curry for James Harden, would you
Yeah,
say yes in
of
a
course,
heartbeat? Now, if I
of
said
course.
would you trade Andre Drummond for James Harden, would you do it?
I mean, I'd be too busy speeding down 95 getting James Harden from Brooklyn. Yeah, like that. This is the way you have to look at it:
Yeah.
is you traded Seth Curry and Andre Drummond and 2 first-round picks for James Harden. Because I mean, Ben Simmons is never going to play for you
Yeah.
ever again.
I think
He was
I think
off the
some
team.
people saw the first round picks and got bothered by that, but
But
I'm like, they
but
didn't mean
why?
anything.
James Harden and Joel Embiid, them alone can guarantee us that that first round pick is going to be a bottom 5 pick.
Yeah.
You kept Matisse Thybulle and Tyrese Maxey. Both of them are more valuable than that first round pick you gave up. The
If
other first round pick is 6 years from now.
if they had made that trade in the offseason or the year before when he was still with Houston, they would have had to give up both Maxi and Thibault.
Easily, yes. Like this is what Morey waited and waited and waited with Simmons. And when everyone begged to get him just off the team, everyone just wanted to end this miserable divorce. And he waited and he got the better deal.
Yeah.
He could have listen, last year it probably would have cost you Simmons, a healthy, active, not pissed off Simmons, and probably Matisse Thybulle or something else to
Yeah.
get him out of Houston last year. Now you got him after he already, double F bird up to the franchise, said he was never going to play with them, and a first round pick, like 2 of them. Yeah, that's easy. And plus, James Harden is probably going to stick around long term. I mean, there's definitely interest in him being in Philly. Morey's his guy. I think that he's very interested in just, contender and winning in this point of his career. And you can't find me a better player to play with than Joel Embiid right now in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, the last time Embiid had a scorer like that was Jimmy Butler, and they were a tip ball away from, going to the Eastern Conference Finals. So,
I mean, like, look at what's going to happen now. Now he is a number one, give me the ball, and I'm going to go score player on his team. And that's going to make such a difference.
yeah.
Because you can't double team them both. I mean, before no one was going to double team Ben Simmons. And you're just going to get screwed.
Somebody else will be open.
With Ben Simmons on the team, Joel Embiid was always going to be double teamed because there was no reason to guard Simmons on half the court. And now you probably have to cover team. You're done. Probably have to double team James Harden. And just set yourself up for failure with single coverage on Joel Embiid.
Yeah, it's. I'm excited. I don't know when his first game is going to be, but I saw he was practicing today. He's going to be rocking the number 1 jersey.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. I don't understand. I was baffled. I was like, how long have I been in England that I'm so out of touch with Philadelphia sports that I am the one praising how great this trade is, and everyone else is kind of ridiculing, cold-footed on it. I was like, what has happened? I mean, I haven't been that up on NBA because I've been out here. I was like, what did I miss? What happened that I'm not understanding?
I don't know, but
Listen,
hey,
I'm for it.
you combine one of the top 5 scorers in the game with the current, in most people's cases, MVP runner. It's a good combo.
Got 2 top 5 scorers in the NBA on the same team.
Yeah.
That'll never be a bad day.
Yeah, I'm excited.
And you got it for, a guy who's, a solid shooting guard, backup center, and a loser that was never going to play for you.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what happens in Brooklyn when Kyrie Irving plays half the games. Like, what does Ben Simmons do in that situation? Kyrie Irving is the point guard. He plays with the ball in his hand.
Yeah, I did see that, and I was a little curious about that, but powerful.
I mean, for Brooklyn, this was the best deal they were going to get for James Harden. Everyone knew that James Harden wanted to leave. They got the best they could.
He was going to not play. I think he was just going to keep using the injury as a reason.
Yeah, he was going to pull the same shit he did in Houston last year.
Yeah.
But I mean, listen, you can't tell me that us getting James Harden is a bad move in any sense of the way. I mean, I'm actually between Seth Curry, Matisse Thybulle, and Tyrese Maxey. I would say Seth Curry, I was most interested in giving away out of those 3.
Yeah, I really wanted to keep Maxey, and I really wanted to keep Thybulle. So
I just think that also when you bring James Harden in, Seth Curry's game kind of becomes redundant. I know he's a great shooter, and shooters always have a spot on the team, but what James Harden's going to bring to your team, you don't necessarily need.
Yeah, Seth I would have rather it been Danny Green that left instead of Curry. But
yeah, of course, that's because Curry's a better player than Danny Green. But let's be honest, you aren't going to give up Danny Green in a package for James Harden.
No, I can't remember now. Did Harden win MVP before?
Yes.
Okay, so we could potentially have 2 MVPs on the same roster.
That's true. I mean, Brooklyn just had that on their team, and that didn't really work out for them.
Oh, yeah, well, that's a different story. They're dysfunctional.
But... Yeah, yeah, they're a dysfunctional team who now just got Ben Simmons. That's the cure you want.
Yeah.
You want to cure your dysfunction, bring in Ben Simmons. Yeah, let's see how that one goes. Let's see. I can't wait till we find out how the Philly fans maybe aren't as terrible as everyone makes us out to be. It's just infuriating to watch a guy who's afraid to shoot a basketball.
Yeah. Jumping back.
Speaking of actually.
What?
Speaking of, not to cut you off, speaking of like Philly fans being assholes, we're looking pretty good now because the Ben Simmons debacle is now someone else's problem. Mm-hmm. Carson Wentz rumors are now popping up that he's going to probably get traded after 1 year. Like, I thought it was just Philly fans are so tough and we suck and we ruin athletes. But then you realize, maybe we just got these nutcases that just can't handle pressures of professional sports.
I mean, there's also the possibility that we did ruin them and now this is a permanent change, but...
Listen, you're in professional sports. This is what comes with it. You got to be handle the pressure. Speaking of pressure, March 11th, mark your calendar. I will be staying up late to watch up that game when Ben Simmons comes back to Wells Fargo. That place is going to be more hostile than third world elections.
Was it March 11th or March 12th?
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is 12th. I don't remember.
I think it was, or maybe it was the 10th. I don't know. All I remember is that I saw Wells Fargo Center tweeted it out. They just tweeted the date, but everyone knew what it was. And then like the official Wendy's Twitter just commented like the next day's date for like free Frosties. I was like,
great.
Corporate Wendy's knows about free Frosties in the Sixers. Like,
of
amazing.
Course, corporate Wendy's runs the damn thing.
That's great.
Listen, that is going to be honestly, I think that's going to be my most excited. Looking forward to basketball game since Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals against the Raptors.
Yeah, it should. I think. I mean, I was talking to Nick about it. Like, besides the Bucks, and then the Nets are still a realistic threat. But besides I don't think the Bulls are ready. I think the Heat could be, but I'm still worried about them like coming together. I feel like the Sixers can, they can make some noise. So.
Sixers are my number 2 in the Eastern Conference Finals, behind the Bucks. Because until this Kyrie Irving thing gets sorted, I just can't take them serious. I'm not going to take a guy serious who can't play in half the games.
Yeah, well, we'll have to plan out a NBA quarter season or 3-4 season episode soon. But
Listen, all I'm saying is if we get a playoff matchup against Brooklyn and Philly's working towards getting rid of that vaccine mandate, I would do an emergency authorization to bring it right back. Just sorry, we surging cases.
well,
Sorry.
Nick, I think it was Nick who he painted this beautiful picture. He said, imagine, game 6, game 7, home in Philly, fourth quarter, Sixers are down by 1. Joel Embiid comes in, posterizes Ben Simmons to take the lead. Wells Fargo goes wild. Like the place would burn.
I mean, this is like, wait until the playoffs start. Wait until Brooklyn gets to see exactly who Ben Simmons is, because he's not going to change. This is who he is.
They'll get great defense. They'll just get an inept shooter who is a liability at the free throw line.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a ball dominant point guard, which the Nets have, Ben Simmons is useless on offense. He's useless.
No. But to jump back real quick in the NFL, we did have the NFL honors. It was this past weekend, Thursday or something. No surprises. Aaron Rodgers won MVP. Cooper Kupp won Offensive Player of the Year. TJ Watt won Defensive Player of the Year. Jamar Chase won Rookie of the Year. Micah Parsons won Defensive Rookie of the Year. Joe Burrow was Comeback Player of the Year. And Mike Vrabel was the Coach of the Year. I mean, those were all fairly easily to see. I mean, you could have said maybe Brady for MVP or maybe some other coaches, but I think Vrabel was deserving of that. I mean, all those the rookies were easy.
Yeah,
Cooper Kupp easy, but
nothing too controversial there. Yeah, I think Brady had a stronger case than Rodgers, but I think it's also flipping a coin at that point. My vote was Cooper Kupp, who I still think was the best player this season.
Yeah.
But neither here nor there. I do want to bring up one thing since you brought up Aaron Rodgers, especially because now we just seen Matthew Stafford win a Super Bowl. We've seen a team decide I am a quarterback away from winning a Super Bowl.
Back-to-back years.
Back-to-back years. Yeah, back-to-back years. Does this make it more likely that Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson are new teams next year?
It's so hard to say. I want to say that both are not going to get moved just because of that they've been with both those teams their whole career. But I mean, we've seen Peyton, like having a Peyton Manning, he ended up moving on. Yeah. He was Tom Brady, Stafford.
Matthew Stafford.
So there's not like, you look at their legacy with their teams and you're like, well, yes, there will be that, Stafford will obviously retire as a Lion, but he went and became a Ram and won a Super Bowl. So Peyton Manning obviously is going to retire when he retired as a Colt, but he went on to the Broncos and won a Super Bowl. So Rodgers will retire as a Packer. But of those two, I think Rodgers is more likely to move than Russell Wilson.
Really?
I can't see Russell Wilson. Like I can see Rodgers in a Broncos jersey, or even it would be wild if the Buccaneers made a move and got Aaron Rodgers after having Tom Brady. But I just don't know, because I feel like the only teams that would be able to get either of those guys are teams that are kind of teetering in the middle. I don't know how many elite teams have capital to grab a quarterback of that standard, but I don't know. What do you think?
I think the precedent is set now after the Stafford move, particularly the Stafford move, because the Rams gave up a lot to get him.
Yeah.
I think the precedent has been set now that, giving up all these draft picks, because the Rams really put on a case study of what everyone was scared to do for many years, was draft away draft picks, specifically first round picks. But look at this team. They traded around 2 first round picks to get Jalen Ramsey. They traded 2 first round picks to get Matthew Stafford. They traded, I forget what picks they were, for Von Miller in the season, which worked out well for them. I think Rodgers stays. I think the Packers make a very strong pitch for him. And I think Rodgers ultimately understands that the Packers are a legit Super Bowl favorite, that if he wants to win, his best bet's probably with the Packers. But I think that someone gives the Seahawks a massive trade offer to get Russ. I mean, if Stafford got you 2 first, you could realistically say maybe Russ goes for 3 first. And I think Seattle looks at their team. They're going in a different direction. They're not like the Packers. The Packers are Super Bowl contenders next year. The Seahawks aren't. I think the Seahawks look at someone offering them maybe 3 first, and they're like, you know what? I think it's time. I think we should move on, rebuild. We had good years. And after you saw Stafford succeed, I think someone will definitely pay that price to get a Russell Wilson. They'll think they're a Russell Wilson away from the Super Bowl.
You ready for this trade?
Let me hear it.
2 first-round picks, like a third, and Danny Dimes.
To the Giants.
I don't know why, but I keep thinking like Russell Wilson's going to go to the Giants, and I would hate it, obviously, but I don't know why, but I keep feeling that way.
Listen, well, the Giants have 2 first-round picks this year in the top 10.
Plus, the owner just came out, or it was the GM or somebody just came out and said, you know, we like we like Daniel, we want to support him and get him more weapons. They said the same thing about OBJ, and then they traded his ass. So,
well, yeah,
you can't believe anything he says.
You can't believe anything. I would say, because I like I said, I do think Russ gets moved. I would say my leaders in that department, I can believe the Giants making the trade for Russell Wilson. That I can buy into. I actually think you're right there. I think you got to look at teams that can be able to pull that move off.
Yeah,
it's probably going to cost you.
They have 2 firsts this year, so I mean, they literally could, and they're both top 10. So
yeah, I think the Giants makes a ton of sense. I think that's one of the leaders. The Broncos have been rumored for the last 2 seasons. I feel like for a veteran quarterback.
Yeah,
I think that they could definitely be in the market there. I still think that the Eagles are probably in the market for Russell Wilson as well.
I mean, I love Russell Wilson. I just don't see how it makes sense.
Because you know what? It's
the
exactly
money,
what we're saying.
what you'd have to give up. Hurts is still developing.
Yeah, but you got to look at teams that have the capital. And listen, the Eagles could. I think Howie and Jeffrey Lurie could easily convince themselves that they could be the Rams. They could be the Rams if they got Russell Wilson.
No,
I mean, I don't know if I see that. This isn't necessarily what I want to do. I still think I believe in growing the team organically, using those draft picks and building the roster. I still think we have too many holes on the roster for Russell Wilson to make us competitor. But I would not be surprised if Howie and Jeffrey Lurie look at this trade.
Yeah, but I don't name one player in the Eagles who's the number one at their position. You can't.
No,
you got Aaron Donald, the number one defensive lineman probably ever. Jalen Ramsey, number one corner in the league. You got Cooper Kupp, the number one wide receiver in the league. You got a top 15 running back in Akers when he's healthy. You got a top 10 quarterback in Stafford. You got a good offensive line.
I hear you there. I just think
they were built. They're like the Dodgers of the NFL right now.
Yeah, well, it's because they took the Dodgers and the NFL approach, and I think they showed teams that it might actually work. To just listen. The draft picks hurt. When you're going draft day and you don't have any rookies to bring up replenish the team, but then you also can
5 more years.
Yeah, well, then guess what? You know what? The Super Bowl is worth it. If they didn't get the Super Bowl this year, then it's a whole different ballgame. But you know what? Really, all you need to look as a successful era of football or franchise is just one Super Bowl. We all look at the Legion of Boom as one of the most dominant defenses and great moments, dynasty almost. And they only have one Super Bowl. The Peyton Manning Broncos, we look back on very positively. It was one of the most explosive offenses. They only had one Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers only has one Super Bowl. We look at him and the Packers as perennial contenders every single year. It just matters. You just need at least win one. And I think the Rams just proved that, we don't have any draft picks, but we have our Super Bowl no matter what. And I mean, they're still got their window's still open. Ramsey's still there. Donald's still there. Stafford's still there.
Well, since this is a Philly themed podcast, I'll give you 2 scenarios and you got to pick one. All right.
Okay.
All right. Scenario 1, Eagles they don't make a trade for a quarterback. They roll with Jalen Hurts. Let's say that they'll trade one of their 3 picks for a pick next year, just to get 2 picks for the next year's draft. But with the 2 picks they still have, they draft 2 starting caliber defensive players.
Okay.
Scenario 2, you trade probably going to need to trade if 2 or 3 of those first round picks and Jalen Hurts for Russell Wilson.
I personally still like option one because I don't think our team is Russell Wilson away from competing.
Right.
I think there's too many holes on this roster to convince me that we're Russell Wilson away from competing. And I think that the cap space and the draft picks you would have to sacrifice to bring in Russell Wilson would help more towards building up the whole entire roster.
I agree.
With that said, well, that's
Oh
what
god.
I think. It would not surprise me at all if Jeffrey Lurie and Howie saw this differently, and they saw it as we just need Russell Wilson, and then we could be a serious contender. I'm telling you, it's not necessarily what I would do because I think this team has too many holes, but I definitely see us as a team that's going to be calling about Russ. That could definitely be in the market because we have the assets, and I think the Rams are going to, their example with Matt Stafford is just going to drive Russ's asking price up, where it gets to the point where the Seahawks will move him.
I know I don't think either of these things are going to happen. About the Rams, but did you hear that Donald and McVay were both considering retirement?
Yeah, I did. I would find that very unlikely.
McVay's like what 37, 36.
Yeah, no,
Like
I mean,
I just don't. He's like, oh, I wanted to start a family. It's like,
listen, if I'm McVay, it does make sense in this sense. Like, I think he's immediately on TV after the season's
oh
over.
yeah, he would be very very John Madden or like John Gruden.
I mean, he's very personable. He's got
Yeah.
the look. He's entertaining, and I think look at Tony Romo. I think set the precedent. The amount of money that guy makes, I think more people are looking into. Why don't I just get into TV? Sean McVay could look at much more money in TV than he would ever make as a coach. With that said, though, I mean, and the Super Bowl is a legacy maker. Like I was saying, you really only need one to make it, your legacy.
Yeah.
With that said, he's only 36, 37. Like he's so young in coaching years. Most head coaches don't even have a job by now at 36 or 37. There's too many
Yeah.
good coaching years ahead of him. Plus, this team is still like, you just want a Super Bowl. This is not the moment to retire. I this doesn't seem like the moment you retire from it. You look like you could be a strong contender for next year.
Yeah. I think Donald's not gonna. I don't think either of them will retire. I think it was just they were Whitworth. Yes, he will retire because he's like 90 years old. But
Donald's argument a little different. I mean, he's got the highest paid
it's
defensive
crazy
player
though because
contract ever.
he is the same.
He's
age
looking
as
at
Fletcher
20
Cox.
million. Yeah, but he's looking at $20 million just to suit up next year on his contract. This isn't like, he's got such a big deal. Like you'd be walking away from a lot of money. Aaron Donald might be a nice, personable guy, but he's not going to get the TV money that Sean McVay could get. I don't see anyone knocking down the door to bring Aaron Donald into the broadcast booth.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like a lot of, especially like some of the defensive players, they feel like once they reach some of their achievements that they don't need to prove anything, and they've done their, he's played 10 years in the league, I think. So, that's like I guarantee if the Panthers had won that one Super Bowl against who was the Broncos, Kuechly probably would have retired after that. But he had all those concussions kept adding up, and then he's like,
I mean, that's a different situation though. Donald doesn't have those concussions,
right? But I'm saying that there's always going to be that threat. So,
yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, Aaron Donald has nothing else to prove, but he could definitely go play another year next year and cash in another huge check.
Yeah, I think
I mean,
he will. Just
I forget what his contract is next year, but I think you're seriously looking at like $20 million to suit up next year. I find that hard to believe that he would retire now and give that up.
Yeah. Curious what so I just noticed NFL.com already has power rankings because, of course they do.
Yeah, of course.
Who do you think is in the top 5?
Top 5? Well, this one's tough because I would say that, well, obviously the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the Bills are in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the Packers, depending on what the Rodgers situation looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And then my fifth
4
one,
for 4.
Look at me, I'm a superstar. My fifth one would probably be. Let's see, who am I missing? I don't think it's the Bengals, man. You know what? I'd probably. What about the Ravens? No,
they're not even top 10.
Really? I'm surprised by that.
They have the Ravens at 12.
Who's the
Apparently,
fifth
because
one?
Lamar has contract issues. It's his 5th year option. I don't know. They
Wait,
had
so you're gonna the uncertainty of Lamar's contract takes them out of the top 5, but Aaron Rodgers' uncertainty doesn't take the Packers out of the top 5.
They had the Rams at 1, Chiefs at 2, Bills at 3, the Bengals 4, and the Packers at 5. San Fran at 6, which I don't agree with that. Dallas at 7, which I don't agree with that. Tennessee at 8, and the Colts, who might not even have a quarterback, at 9, and then Patriots at 10.
Yeah, that's what I don't get is why are you punishing the Ravens when you've rewarded both the Colts and the Packers, even though their quarterback situations are completely up in the air?
I think
I would say their quarterback situations are more uncertain than the Ravens are.
Eagles are right where they should be, 16, right in the middle. So,
yeah, I can live with that.
I mean, I could see them jump to like 12, but they're not top 10 right now.
No, they need the offseason. They're one of those, I think going to be off-season winners. They have a lot of money, a lot of draft picks.
And the Buccaneers without Tom Brady dropped all the way to 19.
I mean, I don't even know who is the backup for the Buccaneers.
That's a good question. Maybe James goes back.
Yeah.
But overall, good Super Bowl. Harden is a Sixer, and Ben Simmons is not.
Can't wait for March 11th, baby.
March 11th. Or 12th or 10th, whichever day it is.
Yeah. Well, hey, this is the last football game we saw of the season. So, I mean, there's still plenty to do, plenty to talk about. The offseason will be right around the corner.
I mean, I think free agency is literally in like a month. So,
yeah, so
short break.
There'll be plenty for us to go over, but it's kind of sad. Ends football for a little bit.
Yeah, well, at least I will say I know everyone was rooting for the Bengals, but I was happy to see Stafford and Ramsey and Donald all get a ring because they're all very deserving players of that. So,
yeah, I'm still bummed. I was pulling for the Bengals.
Yeah, well.
Oh, well, time to get into the NBA talk. And no better time now than James Harden as a Sixer.
James Harden.
All
righty.
All right, till next time.
All right. Peace out.
Peace.